How are we doing today? Good. Well, we're certainly pleased and excited about getting started, and it was a good day yesterday to be able to have a split squad practice where we were able to work a little bit more with just the freshmen last night to do a little teaching with them, get them a lot of repetition. I think there's a lot of carryover with our varsity guys, which is very encouraging. We're always concerned about maintaining intensity, sense of urgency, effort. Nobody really likes to practice two-a-days. I never liked it when I was a player. I don't think anybody really likes it. I don't think anybody likes going out there and practicing when it's 100 degrees. But the teams that are successful are the teams that can manage those things well. They can manage the drudgery of it because of the mental toughness that they have. They can manage the sort of boredom of it all with all the repetition, all the time spent in meetings, all the time spent on the practice field. They manage that. There's a maturity about that. And when you talk about young players, I think that's one of the most important things about young players having an opportunity to grow and learn and improve and play is how do they manage that. That's probably critical to guys having a chance to be successful. It's critical to our team developing individually and collectively. Moving forward, I think the number one camp objective is we want to have the discipline to get the kind of execution we need to play winning football. The second thing is we want to develop the kind of team chemistry and leadership we need to have a team that can play with consistency. But I also think that it's really important that we get a very good knowledge and understanding of our systems offensively, defensively, and on special teams, so that when we come out of here and have to make adjustments and get ready for opponents, we're going to have the best opportunity to do that because we have a good resource of information relative to those systems, and I think that's very, very important. We're very pleased and happy to announce that we have 3 more players that will graduate tomorrow: Greg McElroy, Lorenzo Washington, and Travis Sykes. We certainly want to congratulate them. That brings to 11 the number of guys that will get degrees on our team or have already gotten degrees that are on our team right now. I also like to congratulate Javi, Rowe, and Julio for being kind of preseason Playboy All-American. I think that's a great honor, very, very much deserved by each one of those guys relative to the kind of careers that they've had, and hopefully they'll be able to continue to improve and even play better this coming year. We're looking forward to Fan Day on Sunday. That's something that we like to open practice to the fans so they get a chance to watch our players. I know there's a lot of interest here. Our coaches and players alike enjoy and appreciate the support that our fans give us, and we're happy to spend a little time sort of trying to give back something to them and rewarding them and sign some things and spend some time with them. You probably ask about the coaches poll, and as I always talk about, it's certainly an honor to be represented in the top 10, but as I've said before, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. Preseason polls are really meaningless. It really doesn't mean anything until the end. And the whole idea is to get yourself in a position to be in the right position at the end. So even though it's an honor to be recognized as a good team, I think it's also a challenge to be able to deal with success, be able to remember what got you there, be able to focus on the things that are important to continue to improve so that our team continues to grow and develop and we can actually get better. So, questions?
Coach Saban, have you had a chance to talk to Kerry Murphy or anybody in Kerry's family today?
We've had several people on our staff have talked to him. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. It's a shame, what happened. We certainly are concerned about he and his family's well-being. It's up to him as to whether he comes back here for a few days, stays home. He's been home for 2 days, and we're just kind of going day to day with him. But, our entire organization is very sorry about what the Murphy family is having to go through.
Coach, in terms of the offense that you like to use, last year the numbers were skewed a bit towards the running game, I guess partly because you're so successful running the football. Would you like to see more balance this year, or is your ideal offense one that can control a game physically on the ground?
No, I think the number one thing that we've always defined our offense with is balance. I think that it's very important that you have balance. I think it's very important that you make explosive plays, and I think it's very important that you're efficient running and passing the ball, and your passing efficiency is critical because you don't want to turn the ball over, you don't want to have negative plays, but you certainly have more opportunity to make explosive plays if you execute in the passing game, and that's something that we want to improve on. I think last year we were like plus 53 or something in explosive plays, and the games that we won, and we were minus 6 or 7 in the games that we lost, and we were also negative turnovers in the game that we lost. So those two factors are always critical in winning. I think it have balance in the offense certainly enhances your chances of making more explosive plays. It also keeps the defense off balance, and it's certainly what we'd like to do. But we're always going to tailor our offense to what our players can do. So it's not system first, it's player first. And it's trying to use the players that we have to do the best job that we can. Last year we had an inexperienced receiver corps. We had an outstanding offensive line. We had 2 or 3 really good runners. And even though the quarterback was capable of throwing it, we played to our strength. And we played good defense, and we won games running the ball. We won 2 championships at LSU. One, we led the conference in passing and scoring and weren't very good on defense. And the other one, we led the conference in defense, and we were sort of in the middle with balance on offense. So, there's different ways, but you got to play to your team's strengths.
And along those lines, how important is it, as you've mentioned, using Julio in different roles this year? Do you feel like he's
I've talked about that on numerous occasions, that we move him around and that his development as a player is critical. He's certainly ready to do that. He's done it effectively, and I think it will be a benefit to us. But I also think it's very important that we have other players who become effective players that, complement our ability to pass the ball effectively.
Coach, there was a report last week that some of the Oklahoma coaches had visited. Does your relationship with the Stoops family go back a little ways?
Well, I was really good friends with Bobby's dad and his Uncle Bob, who was the head coach at South High, way back when we recruited Garcia Lane to play at Ohio State, which was in 1979 or 1980 or something like that. Cardinal Mooney was always one of my schools in Youngstown all the time. I was at Michigan State, Ohio State, West Virginia. So I recruited Northeast Ohio for probably 15 years. Bobby's dad was a defensive coordinator. Knew him for years. Bo Pelini was a player that played there. Bobby was a player that played there. Both of his brothers played there through the years. I used to go to the boiler room at 4 o'clock and play gin with Uncle Bob at South High when I was recruiting. So, yeah, we do go way back. And we had to compete against each other once in 2003. But each of us always make a list of quality control things that we sort of want to research in the off season and find answers to. We had talked about doing this before, and it just never worked out time-wise. So before we went on vacation, which is usually when we do it, we just said this is the day we're going to do it, and that's it, no matter what. And we did it, and it was beneficial to us.
Nick, with about half the league going spread, and I know this is addressed kind of media days, you and George, a few others tend to keep quarterbacks under center, but is there a feeling to incorporate more of that even into what you're doing and as the game develops?
Well, I think the spread is difficult to defend, and I think there's some definite benefits to it. But, I also have a 13-page letter in my office from an NFL general manager about we can't evaluate quarterbacks because they don't do what we need them to do in the NFL. So for all these people who play that offense, they're not really developing quarterbacks that have an opportunity to develop a career as a football player. In some people's view. That's not my view. I'm just telling you, I got a letter about that, a long one. And also about trying to evaluate offensive linemen who never get in a three-point stance and always play in a two-point stance, and all they do is pass block and zone block and run the edge. And so part of what we do here is try to help our players develop careers. We want them to develop a career off the field by graduating from school. We want to try to help them develop a career on the field to see if they can play in the NFL. And I think if we had the right player at quarterback, we would incorporate some of that stuff to feature that player. But there's also a little bit of a history, and it depends on how you define the spread. You know, to me, Oklahoma doesn't run the spread. You know, they're spread out, but that's not what I see as the spread. The spread is the quarterback running it, faking it, speed sweeps, all that type of stuff. West Virginia runs what I call the spread. You know, Oregon runs what I call the spread. I think Auburn probably runs that, or basically that's what they did at Tulsa if they're doing the same thing. And we'll see more and more of that. And Florida runs a form of it, and they're very effective offenses. They're very difficult to defend. But philosophically, I think you have to have the right players to do it. I think you have to recruit to it. And we've tried to recruit to something a little bit different. So, but if we had the right player to do it, we would certainly do it. Because I think that would give him the best opportunity to be successful. So we would have that flexibility.
Coach, I'm probably the sacrificial lamb on this question, but last night was your first chance to see the freshman class on the field, you know, as a group, and any impressions at all in terms of conditioning, attitude, that sort of thing, after not seeing them since high school football?
Well, it's always a tough transition to first practice for a freshman. I mean, some of those guys had so much anxiety, I never, ever saw the look on their face that I saw last night, even during flex. I mean, they looked like, you know, they'd been in a gang fight and their gang didn't show. I mean, they looked like they were scared to death. And I think it's just anxiety. You know, it's their first practice. They want to do well. They have high expectations for what they want to accomplish. They're learning a lot. They're confused about terminology, new system, and all those types of things. And but the one thing I do like about this group is there's not a lot of guys out there that get frustrated. They take coaching well. They want to improve. They want to be good. And we got some guys out there that certainly showed in one practice that they have some ability and will be very good players here in the future. And I think that will get determined by how they manage the maturity that's necessary to be able to continue to develop and be responsible as a college football player. I'm not disappointed in any player that we have out there, and I think we have some players who will be very, very good players here, and it'll just be interesting to see how they develop.